yesimanga dinenzulu yemfihla kalonzulu yesimanga esa lise umhlaba nesi bhakabhaka esa lise umhlaba nesi bhakabhaka dinenzulu yemfihla kalonzulu yesimanga dinenzulu yemfihla kalonzulu yesimanga yesa lise umhlaba nesi bhakabhaka yesa lise umhlaba nesi bhakabhaka.
Ngiyabonga. Mandiqale ngokubulisa the program directors, the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyani, the Executive Mayor of Buffalo City Metro, Councillor Xola Phakathi, the ministers and deputy ministers, the MECs of our government here in the Eastern Cape, other mayors and councillors, okumkani abakhona apha, nezinkosi zethu, leaders and representatives of political parties, and especially the governing party here in the Eastern Cape, representatives of youth organizations, representatives of non-governmental organizations, abefundisi, ogqirha abakhona apha, ndingalibalanga is-Speaker of our National Assembly, representatives of the Central Drug Authority, libulise abazali, nomkhulu, no tata, no mamkhulu, alaba bantwana esibabekayo. Ibhlungu kakhulu into yokuthi ungumzali unikwe umsebenzi wokuyobeka umntwana wakho. Inhliziyo zethu zibhlungu kakhulu. Bonke abantu balapha eMzantsi Afrika balila nani. We were all deeply affected when this incident was reported. Bense Germany, la phonela u Premier, la phonela u Minister of Police. They gave me a report about this shocking incident. As we grieve today, we should look for words of comfort. And Psalms 18 verses 2 to 6 does offer us some comfort, where it says, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. so shall I be saved from my enemies. The sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him into his ears. Our hearts are broken. We have lost our children here. There are parents who will not get to hug or to kiss their son or daughter again. There are grandparents who will not be blessed to see their grandson or granddaughter growing up and having their own families. In the classrooms of our schools where these children used to go, there are now empty chairs. In one night, here in Scenery Park, 21 bright lives were snuffed out. I've heard some say, ifile, a sabotage. I have heard some say, President, you have no business coming here to Scenery Park. Some have said that I have a number of other problems to be solving, but I ask them, what is more important in this country and on this earth than the lives of our children? I have come here today because I, like so many South Africans, owe a great debt to the youth of our country. The young people we are burying today have fallen, but there are many more young people that must be saved. We are here because these were not only the children of their families, they were not only the children of Scenery Park and of East London. Abantwana aba, ngabantwana bethu sisonke. They are our children, and we have the absolute right to be here, to come and mourn with the families. And that is why I am here, and that is why we are all here. And I'm pleased that a number of the cabinet ministers have also come down. We are not here to judge anyone today, particularly for what they did or did not do. We are here to mourn, and we are here to pay our condolences to the families of the 21 children. Each and every one of the young people lying here had a beautiful soul. They each had beautiful dreams. They each had a bright future ahead of them. Each one of them. Ulithemba Velapi was looking forward to studying tourism management at Buffalo City College. He was only 20 years old. Ukungentando Nzima was in grade 12 at Alphadale Senior Secondary School. And this was a child who loved mathematics. Yesterday, Lilita Mateko would have celebrated her 17th birthday, and she told her mother that she was planning on buying 2 birthday celebration cakes. Ulungile Pekiso from Scenery Park would have turned 17 in November, the same month that I was born. And this child liked playing soccer with his friends. Ovayo Mateise attended Lumko High School, where he loved soccer and where he loved watching rugby on TV. Yesterday, he would have turned 15 years. Inamandla Weku was a brilliant learner. When his family asked him how his recent exam had gone, he said, "You know I never fail." Oyena Ngoloi was buried by her family in Middle Drift yesterday. She was popular at school. One of her friends wrote on her Facebook page, "Lala Ngokolo, greet those in the house who have left us, and please be our star when we go out at night." Sikelela Chemese was 15 years old. He was quiet and respectful and was very helpful around the home. Simele Polkisi was known in the community for always looking neat and tidy and for working hard at Kakamba Secondary School. Uazizipo, Zilindele's siblings say they will miss how he always was patient with them and that he loved children. One of his teachers has described him as a gentle soul and a gentle spirit. Esinako Samahana was 17 years old and wanted to become a lawyer someday. Sinotando Ngangala liked hanging out with his friends at his high school. Ubongoletu Ngadana was in grade 12 from West Bank High School. She wanted to become a policewoman. Yes, National Commissioner, she wanted to join your team. Yes, Provincial Commissioner, she wanted to be part of your squad. Unati Goza had dreams of becoming an actress, and to compete on Idols, she was 17 years old. Aluncedo Monelo was 17. He was a very talented artist who drew portraits of his family members and people in the community. Ina Tinkani was 18 years old and the last born of her mother. She is described as kind and a big dreamer. Umbulelo Hangile was 18. He'll be laid to rest this weekend. He was a smart dresser and much loved by his family. Usmamkele Sobetwa was popular with her family and friends at Kusile Comprehensive School, who held a memorial service for her. She was 17. Asamkele Tukute was a learner at her secondary school. Usanda Nati Matlakatlaka was in grade 9. only 15 years. At the school memorial service, her classmates described her as a beautiful flower with a lovely smile. uThembinkosi Silwane attended Zwelemfundo Primary School. He was just 13 years old. And his last words to his mother before going out that night were, "Mama, I am coming back." Now, Bagiti, these are the lives we have lost. Much as the obituaries were read, I felt that I should give some detail to the lives of these young people. They are not just numbers. They are not just bodies or souls. Our nation has lost young people who wanted to become something, who wanted to become doctors, teachers, policemen and women, lawyers, actors, business people, and entrepreneurs. They had high hopes of becoming something important in their lives. They planned to help and take care of their families. They wanted to serve their communities and serve their beloved country. The young people we are laying to rest here were exceptional in many ways as we listen to the dreams that they had. And in many ways, it vindicates the investment that our government had put into their lives from the time they were born, throughout their adolescent years and throughout their teens, and also making sure that indeed they do attend school. We're here today to pass our condolences, as I said. We are also here to express our grief as a nation. But we're also here to reflect on the tragedy that has befallen us. The young people we are burying lost their lives in a tavern, indawo yokusela utshwala, indawo yabantu abadala. A tavern is not a place where young underage children should be going to. And I will say it again, a tavern aksiona indawo yabantu abasebancinci. It is a place for older people. These were young people full of life. They wanted a place to meet with their friends and have a good time to celebrate the end of their exams. It is shameful that there are people out there who are, one, blaming the parents, who are blaming the young people for going there. We still do not know the details of what caused these tragic deaths. Oh, Gqirha, they have explained to us the process that they are going through to find out exactly what caused these deaths. Let us allow that process time. And we commend the South African police for conducting a very swift investigation into what happened. And as a nation, we urge our police to carry on and conclude the investigation to bring peace to the families and justice to those who have died. Because the families do want closure. They want to know what happened to their children. And let's not keep them waiting for far too long. There is, however, blame to be laid. As Minister Cele was saying, there is blame that has to be laid. And I'm able to say, yes, from national government, there is blame on us. Provincial government, local government, the police, the taverners, the tavern owners, and all that. There is blame. And blame must be laid at the feet of those who are making money off the dreams and the lives of young people of South Africa by breaking the law and selling alcohol to underage children. We have seen the pictures and the videos on social media of young men and women in Enyobeni Tavern on the night of the 26th of June. Children should not have been allowed into that place, a place of adults. They should not have been served alcohol. What was happening, in my own view, was outside of the law. Apha Scenery Park, nase Duncan Village, nase Mdantsane, nase Malinda, across East London, across the Eastern Cape, and indeed across the country. Kuzo zonke indawo, there are liquor establishments putting profits before the lives of the children of this country. This is not the first time that we have had a tragedy in a place where young people gathered to celebrate. Before this tragedy, there was the Ossist Tavern in Khayelitsha in 2015, where 8 young women died. There was the Throb nightclub disaster in Durban in 2000, where 13 children died and 100 were injured. What is common to all these is that they were selling and serving alcohol to underage patrons in violation of the law. This is not even to count the many incidents across the country of young people who get injured and hurt in alcohol-related violence inside these places and getting into road accidents and becoming victims of crime after leaving these places. It is not to even count the risky behavior like drinking, driving under the influence of alcohol, and having unprotected sex that happens when young people who are below the legal age of drinking are sold alcohol in violation of the law. And as Minister Begicele says, this is now a moment for us as a nation to confront this issue. And we must say, we are now going to draw the line. We are now going to say, if you are a tavern and you sell alcohol to underage children, that tavern must be closed and be closed permanently, never to operate again. Because we cannot continue losing the future of our country to alcohol. We are losing our future generation to the scourge of underage drinking. Alcohol, as we all know, is highly addictive. It is something to be consumed in moderation and responsibility, and only by those who are of a legal age to do so. Now, a number of people have been sending messages through to me and saying, President, maybe the legal age of alcohol should now be lifted to 21 rather than where it is. Now, clearly, I want this to be a national debate. I want this to be a national debate. Let us discuss it so that we can arrive at a consensus. The bodies and brains of young people are still growing and changing. They are too young to understand the fine line between having a good time and becoming addicted. Ngiyayibona le nto yokuthi silifte drinking age to 21 is exciting a number of people. And abanye bothukile ukuthi now we are going to stop them from drinking from a particular age. Now the problem is when young people abuse alcohol, it has a number of negative effects. They miss school, they fall behind in their learning, they get into fights and into trouble, they get depressed easily, and even have thoughts of suicide. Like I said, we do not know yet exactly what killed our children, but we do know that the law was broken that night and probably many nights before. Many young people under the age of 18 were drinking alcohol that had been sold to them. The youngest, just begin to imagine, the youngest was just 13 years old. The law is clear. Alcohol may not be sold or served to anyone under the age of 18. Owners of establishments that are permitted to sell alcohol have to ensure that anyone they sell alcohol to is over the age of 18, and there must be a way of producing an ID to demonstrate that they are indeed over the age. I have said earlier that we are not here to judge. The young souls that we have lost went out that night to have fun. They wanted to be with their friends, they wanted to party and listen to good music. There are many places of entertainment around the country for young people. The owners of many of these places obey the law and make sure that alcohol is not sold to minors. They ensure that their places are safe, have the necessary facilities, and they comply with building regulations, have adequate ventilation and other amenities. Those are responsible businesses who put their customers first. But there are others who are out to make money at whatever cost. They lure young people with promises of cheap or free alcohol. They produce flyers and adverts featuring young people drinking to make it look cool and acceptable. With all this aggressive marketing of alcohol to young people, it is then no surprise or wonder that at least 1 in every 4 young South Africans has consumed alcohol by the ages of 15 to 19. It is then no wonder that our children have come to associate having a good time with drinking alcohol. And that is why they indulge in heavy or binge drinking. Now, these unscrupulous operators of shebeens and taverns don't care if their venues become too overcrowded, as long as more people are coming in, either paying the entrance fee and ordering from the bar. Now, we must commend the Buffalo City Metro Municipality for cracking down on a number of establishments that are breaking the law. This should be replicated throughout the district and throughout the country as well. We commend the multi-sectoral team involving Honorable Speaker of the Assembly, involving the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Children, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities for taking a keen interest and being part of this effort. We also thank the municipality, local fire department, disaster management, building planning and environment, as well, of course, as our police for being part of this effort. But we also know that we want to see our authorities, and especially our police, doing much more than what all of us have seen them do. I want to commend the Eastern Cape Liquor Board, working with the Department of Social Development, and Minister of Social Development is here, for continuing to conduct inspections and monitoring compliance of shebeens and taverns in the metro. But our liquor boards need to be more seized with what happened here and ensure that this should never, ever happen again. And in this regard, I support Minister Cele's effort, initiative together with the Premier, that they should come back here and sit down with various role players and find out exactly what happened. And in doing so, they must then draw the line and say very clearly, this should never, ever happen again, not only here, but throughout the country. We know the Metro is investigating whether Enyobeni Tavern had the necessary permits and was complying with municipal regulations. We know this is a difficult time, but I want to call on the community, let us allow this to carry on. Now, fellow mourners, this tragedy has affected all of us as a nation, as parents, as families, as neighbors, and as a community. Now, as we know in our African culture, children are raised by a community. They are not raised by a family alone. My neighbor's child is my child, and my child is my neighbor's child as well. As communities, we have to come together to do more, to collectively bring up our children, support them, whoever the parents are. They are our children, and according to our culture, we are expected to play a role in their lives, in bringing them up, in supporting them, in reprimanding them when we see them doing something wrong, but also reprimanding other adults as they lead our children astray. We are supposed to guide them, to coach them, and to mentor them, irrespective of whose child the child is. We have to also help our law enforcement authorities to keep our young people safe by working with them. We must also work with our municipal authorities to report not just shebeens or taverns selling alcohol to minors, but also places where young people are sold drugs. Some taverns don't only sell alcohol, abanye bathengisa nama-drugs, bawathengisele abantwana bethu. That is precisely what we also need to look into. Some of these taverns establish themselves too close to schools. Ufumane ukuthi i-tavern is just a few meters away from school. We must not allow this. We know where these places are. As communities, we know exactly what is happening. We know who the operators are. We know sometimes that they are right next door to us. And we see underage children frequenting these places. And this is where our culture must kick in, where a child is not only a child of the family, but is a child who must be brought up by the community. Now, quite often we turn a blind eye, thinking it is not our problem and that we are not affected. But we are all affected when these wrong things take hold in our communities, because today it is somebody else's child, and tomorrow it could be your child. Municipal authorities and local law enforcement officials must heed the calls and the complaints from our communities and not ignore them or not take them seriously. There is, yes, often a complaint where sometimes these things are reported to our police and our police turn their eyes away. And this must come to an end. Our ward councillors must be more visible in our communities, and they must take up the issues that concern our people in the communities where they are. Councillors are elected to serve our communities. They are also elected to represent them and to speak out for them. Educators also have a role to play in this. School governing bodies also have a role to play in this. They must also work with parents and law enforcement entities to prohibit the sale of alcohol close to schools and make sure that those that are set up are reported to the authorities. Now, as national government, we will work with our provinces, local government, and communities to organize safe and age-appropriate recreational and social activities for our young people so that they are not lured into dangerous places. Our young people turn from one tavern to another because there is nowhere where they can go to have a good time. So we must now set up recreational facilities. We must set these up in our communities here in Scenery Park and in many other townships in our country. There are not enough proper facilities for sports, for youth centers, for libraries, and this is what we must set up. I am told Guti Apa, there are about 2,000 taverns. 2,000 taverns and very few recreational facilities for young people. Now I want to call on the Metro and our government here in the Eastern Cape to make good on their promise to develop more spaces and programs for young people and other disadvantaged areas in the province. We will commit to work with our province and our metros and municipalities to hasten the process of ensuring that our young people are not forced to hang out on street corners, bahlale ezikoneni, and visit taverns and end up in dangerous places because they have nowhere else to hang out. We want to see our ward councillors lobbying for more activities, for more programs and facilities that need to be rolled out by the provincial authorities in our communities, and meet with local businesses to get them on board with sponsorships and means of support. And this is where our local businesses also have a key role to play. Through their various programs, we want them to support the process of establishing recreational facilities for our young people. Our country has extensive laws to address and combat substance and alcohol abuse. We are not short of these laws. The problem, of course, is implementation. The Prevention of Treatment of Substance Use Act calls for the establishment of local drug action committees in our municipalities. We have recently seen these committees being launched in municipalities in the Free State, in Gauteng, and in the Western Cape. These local drug action committees are critical for bringing communities, organizations, businesses, educators, and government together to address strategies to deal with substance abuse. Now, the establishment of local drug action committee is being championed by the Central Drug Authority that advises government on drug policies and strategies. I want to call on all our mayors to appoint local drug action committees in every ward and give them the necessary support. But these must also deal with the issue of underage alcohol abuse. We are also mindful that as alcohol is addictive, it is also a substance that can be abused by young people. It is therefore necessary that these committees must also deal with the issue of alcohol abuse. Since 2019, we have had what we call the National Drug Master Plan. I want to call on the Eastern Cape government, and indeed all provincial governments, to step up implementation of their provincial drug master plans with a renewed focus on outreach and public awareness raising. Now, this is important because we realize that even during COVID, during the COVID restrictions, alcohol abuse was at a high level. We often hear parents say that they didn't know that their children drink alcohol or abuse substances. We also know that young people often hide these activities from their parents. Now, as communities, we need to create greater awareness of the harmful effects of underage drinking. We will help our parents and caregivers and educators spot the signs of alcohol and substance abuse, and so that they can seek the necessary help. The outreach that Buffalo City Metro has been conducting should continue. We call on the Eastern Cape to further step up efforts to monitor the implementation of regulations and laws at places that sell alcohol. I want once again to call on our communities to join the local community policing forums and to work with law enforcement by reporting violations of the law. General Masimula needs our support. Our provincial commissioner needs the support of the community when it comes to policing, but also when it comes to identifying those taverns and establishments that break the law. We will not be able to succeed unless our communities themselves, through their various community policing forums, are able to lend a hand to the police. We have a strong message to send to all those establishments breaking the law and bringing us closer to tragedies like what happened here at Enyobeni. If you are breaking the law, you will be shut down. Sizanivala, if you continue breaking the law. That we promise. And I want to call on the people of Scenery Park, of East London, of Khalishiwe, of Bishop Lavis, of Beacon Valley, of Phoenix, of El Dorado Park, of Alexandra, of New Brighton, to help us take back our communities, not just from establishments like illegal selling poison to our children, but from all forms of crime. If there ever was a time for us to work together as communities, this is now the time, and let us take it up. I say this because what happened on the 26th of June was a crime. When I spoke to the Premier and the Minister as I was in Germany, it was a chilling message that they gave me. We share a responsibility as a people to ensure that a tragedy like this never happens again. We have a responsibility as adults to guide our youth until they reach maturity and adulthood, and above all, to set a positive example to them. As parents, we do have a responsibility to look after our children and to ask ourselves where a 13-year-old child is into the evening, at midnight. We do have that responsibility, and it is a God-given responsibility that we must execute. Sifanele ukuthi siwenze umsebenzi wethu njengabazali, because uhulumeni cannot be in every little place. We as parents have the responsibility to work with our authorities. As community leaders, as elders, and as religious leaders, as our traditional leaders, let us support our families who are going through this very difficult time, not only financially, but also through other means. And we thank IAVBOB for the support that they have demonstrated and shown. Siyabulela, we thank you for your compassion in this regard. Now, to parents, especially those of single-parent families, they need our emotional and spiritual support as they raise children in this difficult world. The family is the cradle that nurtures our next generation, and it is within the family that children are taught basic values, self-esteem, and how to also resist peer pressure. The Department of Social Development runs a number of programs across the country to support families, to build life skills amongst adolescents, and to support young people who are at risk. One such example is the Risiha, a community-based child protection program to assist vulnerable children, orphans, and child-headed families. One of the program's pilot sites is here in Scenery Park and being supported by 6 children and youth care workers. The department also runs programs to empower parents with parenting skills, and Sinovuyo Teens Parenting Program that specifically focuses on improving the relationship between caregivers and young people. As much as we continue with these efforts, we know much more still needs to be done to curb the abuse of alcohol and drugs by young people. Alcohol should not be marketed to children and adolescents, and the relevant regulatory bodies must inform this. And we call on alcohol producers, alcohol distributors, to desist from advertising their products to young children. South Africa has one of the highest rates of problem drinkers in the world. When they look at South Africa globally, they count us as being amongst the top heavy drinking countries in the world. Now, we must bring this to an end. We must try by all means to become sober people. I saw very disturbing pictures as we opened up the COVID levels. As we opened them up, there was one picture that I saw where people were going to a bottle store. I think these are Tops or something. They were going with a brass band. Bebhiyoza bethi utshwala buvulilwe ngoku sizawusela uRamaphosa uvule utshwala. Beloku bethi fellow South African ukuvulile utshwala. So that formed an exciting moment to our people. Now when that happens, we are immediately put on the top category of heavy drinkers in the world. We need to become a sober people. We will continue to enforce regulations around alcohol being sold in larger container sizes in a manner that encourages binge drinking. Provincial and national liquor authorities must increase enforcement by monitoring registered outlets and closing down unregistered ones. Binge drinking, even amongst 18-year-olds, is a growing problem. Institutions of higher learning need also to look at ways to curb the availability of alcohol on their premises, including in residences and at recreational facilities in campuses. Today, we shed bitter tears for the 21 young lives we have lost. We must ensure that there is justice for them. We do not want more parents to get a call in the middle of the night about the death of their child or be asked to come and identify their child who has passed away due to alcohol abuse. We do not want any parent to experience this type of pain anymore. This is a national crisis, and we must therefore act. And I'm pleased that the approach that is being displayed by the police is that of enforcing our laws. Many years ago, when our government embarked upon a program to reduce the harm caused by tobacco, cigarettes, government was heavily criticized and met with enormous resistance. Today, we take it for granted that the anti-smoking laws exist and they are being complied with by the majority of our people. A similar approach, matched by the necessary interventions, is needed to reduce the harm of alcohol abuse amongst our young people. We will all remember how smoking used to be a national problem. You would go into an aeroplane, into a taxi, you would go into a meeting room, people will just be smoking and puffing away, regardless of whether the substance that they were inhaling affects others or not. We were able, through our anti-smoking laws, to bring smoking in public places to an end. Now, we are faced with another national crisis. Yes, alcohol excites people, it makes people happy, it makes them want to do things that they never thought they could do, but it has already shown to be very harmful. Now, we now need to take action. The children that have died must be a clear signal for us to take action. These deaths could have been prevented had we enforced our laws. So we thank the provincial government, the Metro, and our friends in the private sector for assisting in every way to ensure that the children are given a dignified send-off. And we thank all government departments who have also assisted with counseling. A great deal of counseling still needs to take place with the families. In times like these, it is a great effort that we have come together to stand with families and support them. And to the families, on behalf of the community and on behalf of the people of South Africa, I express my deepest condolences to you, to your relatives, to your friends, and to all the loved ones and your children, other children. There are no words that can bring comfort at this time, but may your pain be relieved, may your hearts be eased, may your tears be wiped dry. We are with you, we mourn with you, and we will walk this road with you. What you can be sure of is that following this tragedy, we are going to act as a government. Ngiyabulele.
Siyabulela.